I'm sorry for my like lateness of getting stuff out there. It's just with like school and
Oh
then
no,
working on the documentary, it's been really hectic.
it's no problem at all. These things, as I'm learning, are quite a handful when you're trying to live life, balance so many things, spilling several plates. Yeah, I think I've set myself up for something that I'm like, oh God, what have I done? So I've started doing some work on MCAS and I'm starting researching it properly
Okay,
uh, and writing some papers on it. So I'm looking to create like an online resource for patients that
that's
kind of
amazing.
reflects the patient voice. Um, and me being me, I can't just do it half-assed. I'm like, right, I've been researching it. I'm writing a problem statement, and I'm hoping to get it under the noses of some influential doctors who might want to contribute and help. So I've kind of set myself up for a lot of work.
You have. That would actually be a very interesting thing to have you come back on the podcast to talk about that process and potentially have a link so that I could put it in the YouTube, like underneath, and then people could come find
Yeah,
it
no,
and find
if
the
that's
resources.
yeah. I think everything that everyone's putting out there, if we can link them all together, it's
Hmm.
hopefully just going to help in so many ways.
It would. I would definitely be interested in reading it. I love research papers. I love doing research myself. I actually just wrote a research paper about how ketamine actually helps people with PTSD
Well, okay, yeah,
and like had to have like over 20 sources for my
yeah,
prof. So, but
yeah.
it was a good eye-opening experience just to write that paper and learn how much it can actually help people because it causes like a disassociative state where people can separate themselves from their body to look at the trauma and then work through it. And I was like, man, more people need to know about this. Like,
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, good stuff. That's fantastic.
I'm very interested and excited to hear more about this project that you're doing.
Yeah, it's early days. I've just started an Instagram profile just to start getting people talking and see what people think and feel, ask some questions. Very early days, but it's given me a chance to kind of play around with some of the formatting and how I put things out there to see what people resonate with. So yeah, but I thought my days of trawling medical journals were behind me, but they've all come back.
I think once you like research or you've done research and you know how to do it, I think using that skill is a good thing because it definitely can
Yeah,
help a lot more people as well.
that's the hope. I just think I've learned so much about MCAS and the diagnosis, and even getting my POTS diagnosis because I had a healthcare background. I could do that research and I could speed things up for myself. And I just thought I've got to try and be able to do this for other people as well and speed up their diagnosis process because it takes far too long to get diagnosed with these things, and anything that can speed it up has got to be a good thing.
Oh, definitely. So, would you like to talk about what mast cell activation is
Um,
that you've come to learn about?
yeah, well, it's a really funny thing to look at actually when you look at it kind of globally and what people are being told in different countries about it, because different countries are at different stages with their understanding. Um, and it shouldn't be like that in today's age because you'd imagine that there's really good, it's the world of the internet that people would be able to kind of keep on the same kind of playing field with this whole thing. But um, I've learned that the UK is piss poor dealing with MCAS and years behind the States. So the States and Germany apparently are the two biggies that are kind of at the forefront of all the research. Um, and then it seems like Canada is kind of getting there with some of it. Um, and then the UK is like right at the bottom of the pile of like westernized countries that have access to all this kind of stuff. Um, and yeah, it's not formally recognized in the UK at the moment. So if you have MCAS, you're kind of out on your own in this country.
I did not know that. That's very eye-opening and quite
Yeah.
disheartening to hear, actually.
It's quite scary. So what the NHS do in this country, so obviously we've got our National Health Service here. And there's another body, which is the National Institutes of Health and Care Excellence, or NICE. And NICE are the people that create all the clinical guidelines for all the doctors to work to. NICE haven't acknowledged MCAS at all. There is literally no mention of it throughout anything that they publish, nothing at all. And then that means that the NHS have no references, or they have no clinical guidance on how to deal with this. And this means that when you type in MCAS and NHS, which is what lots of people in the UK will do, all that comes up is mastocytosis. And that's it. There's no mention. It's literally like it does not exist. And it's really scary. But I've been speaking to actually a dietitian whose husband has MCAS. And because she witnessed him going through this hideous journey, she's now started to specialize in MCAS. And dietitians are their own group of professions in this country, but they're very intimately linked to the NHS. So there's some really good handful of people that are trying to get the NHS to recognize and treat people with MCAS. But it's really sporadic, and it just purely depends on where you live in the country. So yeah, it's been an eye-opener when you look at the politics of obviously a new condition. People are like, what is this and how do we deal with it? And it's caused a lot of frustration for a lot of people.
Definitely, it definitely would cause a lot of frustrations, and it definitely feels like, or it sounds like, sorry, that people are not being heard or seen with
Yeah.
what they're experiencing. And that is a very scary thing.
It's just the most basic thing of denying somebody's experience, as a patient, and, telling them that what they're experiencing isn't real. It's just one of those awful things you can do to anybody. And it just paves the way for more gaslighting, which is really not good. So part of the problem statement that I'm writing is that somebody's got to act soon, because if the right people don't step up and deal with this, then you're going to get some really dodgy people that will go, oh, I can make money on this, or I can peddle some dodgy tests and I can give you all the answers. And people are desperate. I know what it's like to feel desperate. I'm sure you do as well. You will take anything in those moments because you just want to get better and you want to understand what's happening to you. So I think it's so important that, as people with these conditions, that we try and raise awareness, just like you're doing. It's trying to raise awareness so you can actually say to people, even if you don't have all the answers, hey guys, this is real, this is legit, hang in there. There are some people that can help. Just hang in there. We'll get you to those people. Because otherwise I don't like to think where people will end up.
Well, when people are not listened to, they resort to trying to sort things out on their own. Some people will go the route of self-harm, which is also not a good thing. I felt personally like I was losing my mind. I didn't feel like doctors were listening to me for a long time. My mast cell symptoms were worsened after I had major neck surgery from my cancer. And I was having all of these rashes that lasted for like 6 months. Looked like syphilis rash all over my entire body. Wasn't syphilis. Yeah. Ended up with another one that looked like ringworm all over my entire body. 6 months didn't go away. So that kind of stuff. And then having doctors be like, well, I don't know. And then I ended up actually talking to my great aunt who has mastocytosis. And I was like, what is this? And so I was like, maybe I should be tested for mast cell disease. And that's kind of how I got the ball rolling with that, was because of that. But without that, I probably would have been undiagnosed, and if I wasn't advocating for myself. And I think that's an important thing when you have chronic illness of any sort, or you have something going on and you are undiagnosed. Don't give up. Keep going. Keep pushing. Don't let doctors tell you no. If you know something is wrong with your body, find someone that will listen.
Yeah, exactly. It's that kind of thing of not taking doctors as gospel. I still think, I don't know how you find it, but I think there's still this old-fashioned idea that you just worship a doctor and that you always do what the doctor says. And I don't buy that. I see doctors just like anybody else. They're human beings. You get really, really great ones. You get not so great ones. And if you've got a not so great one, you've got every right to move on and find one that is actually sympathetic to you and is listening to you and taking you seriously. But I still find lots of people that just are completely unquestioning of a doctor. They just do exactly as they're told and never question anything. And it's like, guys, come on. You've got to advocate for yourself. If it doesn't feel right, say something.
Yeah, because if someone just ends up sitting on it, that's when you end up having problems. Like I've taken medication, like I think Singular was one that they wanted me to try for mast cell, and
Yeah.
I took it and it made me have breathing problems and my tongue swole. And I was like, I have a swollen tongue and like I'm having breathing problems. I think it's the Singular. No, it's fine. Just keep taking it. No,
Yeah.
I'm not taking it anymore. Can I please try something else? So it's knowing when to say no, essentially, to a doctor or be like, hey, like this is what's happening. Can we try something else? And it doesn't make you a bad person to stand up for yourself or to even get a
Exactly.
second opinion. Because I recently had an experience with a doctor that I didn't like. So I asked for a second opinion. So I'm going to see someone else that will humanize me because that initial doctor made me feel like I was a number. So finding a doctor you have a good rapport with is also really vital when you're advocating for yourself. Because if you don't have a good rapport with your doctor and you feel like you're bothering them with a question, they may not be the right doctor.
Yeah. And it just makes the whole process so much more laborious if you can't communicate easily with a doctor. And I mean, it's crazy because I've actually not met my doctor. So my kind of first point of contact, I've never met because I moved to a different practice. Um, and they're crazy, crazy busy. So the couple of times I've like said, "Can I see my doctor?" They're like, "Nope." Like, oh, for goodness sake. So I just think, right, I'm not in desperate need of face to face, so I can write emails. So I've actually had this quite good email relationship with my doctor. And she's been absolutely fantastic in that, some doctors are still a bit kind of reticent to prescribe, even if you've got a consultant saying, like, this person has mast cell issues, this is what they need. Some doctors are still quite questioning of, why should I be prescribing all of this for you? But I've been very lucky that, my new doctor has just said, yeah, absolutely no problem. Let me know how you get on. Hope it works. So in that respect, I've been lucky. And I've got a very good relationship with my immunologist. He's ex-military, so he's quite straight talking, and I like that. And you can just sort of bounce ideas off of him very easily. And he's very generous with his time, which is fantastic. So again, I've been really lucky in that respect, but I guess it's because I did the research beforehand, kind of making sure that once the insurer said yes, we're going to cover this, that I got to the right person. Um, and again, lots of people perhaps wouldn't know how to do that or who to go to. So I think one of my long-term aims is to try and help people understand how the process works. Um, and the other thing for mast cell activation, which is true the world over, is that it's really complicated to diagnose. Um, and I see so much frustration in people purely because nobody told them that it's difficult to diagnose. They just thought, oh, I'll go and have a blood test, and then hey presto, I'm diagnosed. And it's like, yeah, it's probably not going to work like that. It's going to be tricky. It's going to be frustrating. You may need multiple tests, but nobody tells people that.
Which is something I wasn't told right off the bat. However, I guess I kind of lucked out in a bad way because I have a high tryptase level. So it was
Mm.
obvious. They're like, oh, okay, you have this.
Okay.
So like I have a resting level between 14 and 17. So I haven't actually had testing done when I'm in anaphylaxis or having anaphylactoid
Yeah.
responses just to get like that how high it actually goes. Which is something I need to do soon when I have a reaction, but I'm trying to avoid having one.
Yeah, it's generally not a fun thing to do.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to just force myself to have one. Yeah, but there's like the blood tests, there's the urine test.
Yeah.
They could do something, there's like a KIT mutation test if it's a familial one. So that leads into my other question is how were you diagnosed?
So once I suspected mast cell, so I actually came about all of this through SIBO and small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. I was kind of having gastro problems, and I was like, maybe it's some kind of, overgrowth, and my microbiome's not very good. And that's coming back from my nutritionist days. And I thought, yeah, something's up. But then it was so stubborn. And then my symptoms started to shift from my stomach, and I started having breathing problems, then all the palpitations, then all the headaches, then the aching limbs. And I thought, oh, come on, are you having a laugh? This is ridiculous. And that's when I thought, okay, there's something more complicated going on here. Um, I'd heard about MCAS, sort of at the periphery of my knowledge, and I tucked it away. And then I kind of thought, okay, I'll go and revisit that and just see what it's all about. And the more I read, the more I thought, okay, I'm ticking a lot of boxes here. So I thought, okay, I think I need to get this sorted. Did the research, realized that lots of doctors don't know anything about it. It took us a few months, and it was my partner that actually phoned a pediatrician who has mast cell activation syndrome knowledge. And my partner just phoned his PA and said, will he see adults? And she said, yeah. So I was like, yes. So off I went to see this pediatrician. And I was expecting it to be quite a long, drawn out process, but I just said, look, this is what's been going on. I've been feeling really rubbish. I think I tick enough boxes. I've responded really well to antihistamines. He just said, okay, yeah, I think you really are describing mast cell activation syndrome. Let's run the tests. So he just did the whole shebang. I had every test imaginable. And they were coming back kind of in fragments. Every kind of few days we'd get another result back. And he would just email me every time. And he said, look, this has come back normal, 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 normal. And I was thinking, okay, I probably don't have it then. And I emailed him saying, look, I've just been diagnosed with POTS, so maybe it's all just POTS. And then he goes, you know what, don't just hold on. He said, we've got one more set to come back. And he said, just hold fire. And then after 2 months of waiting, my prostaglandin levels came back, and they were sky high, like really, really high. And he said, as far as I'm concerned, you've got mast cell activation syndrome, based on, your history, everything you've described, and your prostaglandin levels, including high cortisol, because obviously he said, he was really good actually. He said, look, you've got this dysautonomia stuff going on. And he'd seen that from my blood done with dysautonomia that my cortisol levels were sky high. And he said cortisol will actually interfere, obviously, with the prostaglandin result. It will make your prostaglandins look lower than they actually are. And thankfully, he took that into account. And he said, even with the high cortisol skewing the results, your prostaglandins are still really, really high. So he said, you've definitely got your mast cells are really, really hyperactive. And that's when he said, look, let's start treatment and let's see how we go. So once I found him, it was pretty straightforward. But obviously for a lot of people, it's finding somebody in the first place that can even begin to understand what you're going through.
It's true. I know for myself, it was a bunch of hoops to jump through to try to find somebody. I know that immunologists, hematologists tend to be really good for diagnosing mastocytosis as well as MCAS, and also like looking into those tests. I know that they can order those kinds of tests because those are the kind of doctors that I've seen for it. I don't know if you know of this one medication. It's called Xolair. Has anyone talked to you about that?
I've not heard of that one.
I don't know if it's available in the UK. It is one that they use here, and they do use it in the States as well to help people with MCAS as well as mastocytosis. It is a medication they usually give to people that have COPD, other breathing problems. Like I get reactive asthma really bad from a lot of the mast cell stuff, especially fragrances. So like I said previously, I'm 100% fragrance free, which has helped me with my breathing problems like substantially. I've also lost my voice before from fragrance, so not being around it has really helped. But the Xolair in the past, I did try it for I think I was on it for a year, and I call it a spontaneous remission because I basically had like very little symptoms for a long time. I was able to be out and about without a mask on and be able to be around fragrance and only have subtle reactions. And I had to stop it because COVID happened and I ended up becoming extremely isolated and bubbled because I couldn't go to the doctor because of being immunocompromised.
Yeah.
But I ended up taking it again, and it took me about 6 months to get to a little more stable-ish position with it, to the point where I could actually eat food again, because for a long time food has been a big issue. So there's a lot of trauma around food for myself. I don't know about you, but eating stuff, having an allergic reaction, then having that fear of trying that food again. So
It's the fear. It's always the fear that really kind of takes over. Because my first consultant I saw when I started to get really ill was a gastroenterologist. And I only did the preliminary consultation with him because he actually said, "You're not ticking a lot of my boxes." He said, "There are some gastro problems obviously going on," but he said, "There's lots of other stuff that doesn't really fit with the kinds of stuff that he's used to seeing." But I said, look, at that point, I'd lost about 6 kilos. And I said, in all honesty, I said, I don't think there's anything physiologically causing that weight loss. I said, it's because I'm just too scared to eat. And I have appetite. I have a good appetite. I'm actually hungry a lot, but I either can't eat any significant quantity because that'll just trigger me, or if I do eat anything, it just triggers me anyway, and I'm sick or something else will happen. And I've spoken to so many people now that have that exact same mental cycle that you go through, and it's not that you have a problem with food as such, it's that your experiences with it freak you out because you're so scared of what's going to happen. And I jokingly say every time I eat something, like, will it kill me? Because you just think anything new, I could either be absolutely fine or I could be in the hospital and thinking, oh my God, what have I done? So, yeah.
yeah, I've definitely really changed a lot of the stuff I eat. I haven't had fish in I don't know how many years. I don't eat shellfish. Like, all of those just cause such a bad histamine release in me that I end up with like a migraine that feels like I've drank, I don't know, 2, 3 bottles of wine. Like, just that hangover
Yeah,
feeling
yeah.
because of
Oh, yeah.
the mast cell hangover.
Yeah.
But the Xolair has helped me be able to eat. Like, I still can't eat fish, but I don't have
Okay.
as many reactions because a lot of my symptoms are GI, like
So my,
vomiting, diarrhea, bloating, where I look 6 months to 9 months pregnant. My abdomen is extremely hard and it hurts. And then if someone else sees it, oh, it's funny looking. No, it fucking hurts. Like, it's
yes. That's
painful.
that's really interesting saying that actually, because that seems to be the overriding set of symptoms that I just can't seem to get ahead of at the moment, and I'm having it again. I'm reacting to food almost every day again, and it's as though I get so far with the current set of meds, and they work for a while, and then with the GI stuff, it's like they just stop working, and then here we go again, and I'm having that exact same problem again, and that's the one set of symptoms that really cramps my social life because if your stomach is doing crazy stuff, you don't want to be far from home. You don't want to be going out in public places because you think, I don't know what's going to happen. And then, of course, you don't want to socialize because people normally eat when they socialize. And then your world just shrinks again. You think, oh God, here we go again.
So my next question is, have you heard of another medication called Nalcrom or Cromolyn?
I have that at the moment.
So one thing that one of my doctors had suggested is taking it before I eat because it actually
Yeah.
can help with the food, like symptoms essentially.
Yeah.
And I've noticed a difference with that. I don't know if that's how you end up taking it.
I don't know if you've got the same, I don't know if they do the same dosage the world over, but it's a pain in the ass because you have to take so many.
Yeah, I think I take 8 of them a
Yeah, okay, same
day.
with me then. So
Okay.
it's like 100 like milligram capsules. Yeah, and I have to take 8, so I do them in twos. I started taking it a while back. I can't say I noticed any particular difference, but loads of people say it's done wonders, but I'm not sure if it's done anything particularly good for me. The best pill I took was actually cetirizine when I first suspected MCAS. And up until that point, I'd been having crazy bad stomach pain, really bad diarrhea or vomiting, normally straight after eating. And nothing seemed to touch it. And then I took cetirizine, and after like 3 or 4 days, all of my GI symptoms just stopped. And I was like, wow. And for about 6 months or so, they just kept everything under control. And then earlier this year, I just felt like everything was starting to wear off. And then I thought, oh no, here we go. And since that point, I've been on this kind of rocky road again. So,
Yeah, I can understand that. I think when I started the cetirizine, and I don't know if it was Zantac, because now I'm on Pantaloc. Maybe that's the wrong one. Panta something.
yeah.
It's an antacid. It's a long name. Pantoprazole, maybe.
Okay.
But I started to react to the Zantac after a while, and it stopped working, so I had to switch my antacid. But I'm still on the cetirizine. But when I first started, it made me so tired and so lethargic because it's lowering the amount of mast cells, right? So, or ideally, like, trying to block them. That's where Xolair is interesting, because I just had the doctor explain to me yesterday that, you have your mast cell and it's got like the little attachers for the antigen. The Xolair kind of blocks those.
Okay.
So that it prevents, to some degree, stuff attaching to the antigen, or I mean, my words, holy crap.
All right.
Prevents them from attaching to the mast cell itself, which causes the reaction. So it is a very interesting medication. I have talked to other people that have mast cell activation over the years that have tried it. Some people do really well, some people don't do well. The big downside is if you have a latex allergy, you can have anaphylaxis from it.
Okay.
I have a latex allergy. I have not had a anaphylactic response to it yet. But every time you get it, you have to wait in the office for up to an hour, sometimes 2, depending.
Okay, yeah,
so just to watch, right?
Yeah,
because if you have that, then they, obviously epi you, send you to the hospital and that sort of thing. Another preventative that I do, that's taken like a lot of self-experimentation, is keeping Benadryl, ondansetron, and Maxaran in my fridge to inject myself with, because a lot of my symptoms, vomiting. So eating stuff and then vomiting, and it's cyclic. So it'll go for up to 12 hours. I get dehydrated. I get that headache and hangover feeling. So using the ondansetron or the Maxaran, not together, never together, 3 hours apart if I'm still nauseous, but using one in one leg, like IM injection, and then I use Benadryl in the other leg. And I've noticed a substantial decrease in the vomiting and also kind of calming the mast cells a bit. So it is something. Another person I know she has mastocytosis, she does a similar thing. And I feel like it's not something that's talked about enough. So it's just kind of info sharing. Obviously, I'm not a doctor and I'm not telling people what to do with their healthcare. But as someone that has a rare complex illness, I feel like it's pertinent information to share.
Exactly. It's good to be able to bring these things to your doctor saying, what do you think about this? I've heard, this is beneficial. And I think that's the one thing that if you can call it an upside to MCAS, it's that there are lots of options. It's messy and confusing, but there are a lot of combinations of different treatments and things. And, all the sort of major players in MCAS have always said, you might as well, keep trying stuff out, especially when you're first diagnosed, because you might just hit upon a really great combination that will work for you long term. And thankfully, I've been lucky that my own immunologist has said, let's do just that. Let's start off with the bare minimum, and then we just slowly, ratchet up as needed until we get, the minimum needed to keep me stable. So I feel at least I've got options ahead of me, which is good.
That is good. I'm glad to hear that, because there are options and there are other medications, and I do hope that me sharing some information may also help you.
No, it's really, really helpful because you've got, so much more experience, and obviously you've spoken to a lot of other people as well. So I will take anything that I can get. It's all really, really helpful.
I'm happy to info share, because I think stuff like this is helpful to the community, and it can potentially save lives, because I know that there have been people.
That's the thing. I did a little post on Instagram the other day, and I'm saying, look, there was a paper that I read, and it was immunologists were saying that MCAS symptoms are on a spectrum. All mast cell disease symptoms will be on a spectrum. But they said with mast cell disease, you're looking at mild, severe, and then life-threatening. And it's that people don't often talk about the life-threatening bit, but it is a reality for people with any kind of mast cell irregularities. There is always that potential. And it's not that you want to scaremonger, but you've just got to be real about it, saying, okay, that is a potential consequence. So let's take some of this seriously. And it's the nature of the beast. And I think, yeah, it's right to share those things and say, look, let's all just be honest about what's going on. And that way we can tackle it in a sensible way. But I think it's when people don't share the knowledge and don't acknowledge the reality of it that it gets more difficult to treat and to live with.
Yeah, and I think more people give up. More people
Yeah,
they're like, oh, there's no options, whatever, I give up on life. And it's like, no, don't do that. Here, have some info. Talk to your
yeah,
doctor about these things. Like, don't quit. Please
exactly.
don't quit.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's great that you're doing all these things and trying to find different mediums to reach different people. It's different things obviously speak to different people. Um, and I'm now just on that beginning stages of that same journey, trying to figure out how I can best help people because I don't want all this stuff I'm learning to just sit in a folder on my computer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel like that's not really fair on people. So if I can get knowledge out there, and I'm a stickler for sort of evidence-based stuff because of my background, and I'm like, if I can write it in a fun way, but knowing that it's backed up by legit science, then hopefully people will trust in it more and get answers quicker. So, I think we just got to keep on keeping on.
I agree. Definitely keep on keeping on, which is also a big reason why I'm doing my documentary. It's my first one. I want
Yeah,
to do more. And it's all about MCAS, actually.
perfect. That's so fantastic. I'm so looking forward to it. I know it's a big project to do anything like
It's
that. It'll take
huge.
time. Yeah, they
It's
are big projects.
it's been a learning process because it's
Yeah,
completely changed through the process, and I'm very excited. There's actually some stuff in here. If you're okay with having your voice used, I might like to
yeah,
use it for the documentary.
yeah. No problem. My very husky voice.
Are your vocal cords inflamed?
I naturally just have a really husky voice, and my
Oh,
dad
okay.
as well. And we've like, is that MCAS? Is that some allergies? I know it's just me. I always sound this croaky. It's horrible.
it's, it's not a bad sound. Your voice is good.
Yeah, it doesn't take much for my voice to disappear, which some people actually relish. So yeah, some people like it when I go quiet. They're like, oh, thank God he's shut up.
Oh,
But
no, no.
yeah.
I appreciate your voice. I appreciate you having a voice and sharing your voice. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what you're doing with the community that you will be building.
Thank you. I'll send you a link to a little Instagram profile, and then obviously in
Yeah.
due course I'll let you have a look at this problem statement if I ever finish it, and then yeah, see what you think. And
Yeah, that would be amazing. Our meeting's going to cut out here in a
no
little
worries.
minute or so. Is there anything else you would like to add?
I think we're good actually. It's been nice catching up and just getting stuff off our chests and comparing experiences on MCAS.
That's why I like doing the podcast. I changed the name to Chronic Heart to Heart because the other
Yeah.
name was being used by someone else. So I
Okay.
decided to
No
change
worries.
the name up. But I'm happy to have conversations. If you'd like to come back on and talk about what you do to like cope, I think that would be a
Yeah.
wonderful episode as well.
Yeah, that'd be great. It'd be great for me to share and also for me to learn because yeah, I'm still relatively new to it all. So that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, that'd be great. We can compare notes. All
Yeah. Good
right,
stuff.
perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being a part of this. It means a lot to me.
It means a lot to me. Thank you for having me, and keep on keeping on with everything. I know it's a tall order, but you're going to do it, and you've got the determination. So just keep doing it.
Thank you. I will. I will do my best. And I'll send you a copy of this so you can look it over before I post it as well.
Perfect. Thank
All
you so
right.
much.
Thank you. Take good care.
And you. See you soon. Bye.
Oh, indeed. Bye bye.